Lived through worse. Lived through worse. Yeah, everybody's lived through worse, right? Or everybody else has lived through worse. We basically do that all the time. We tell people, well, I've lived through worse. Or, well, they're living through worse. They've lived through worse. Tired of that. This idea of living through worse. You think you're living through worse? Yes, you are. Each one of you, individually. Don't compare it to the other person that's listening to this like you are. Lived through worse. You are. But you're not letting that go away. You're climbing the ladder and telling everybody else, they've lived through worse. I've lived through worse. They're living through worse. Who cares? If you want your worst to get better, you don't compare it to somebody else, because it's not going to go away when you just compare it to somebody else. Well, it might. No, it won't. Because you continually blame that and say it looks worse over there. Oh, well, it must be better here. Even though I'm being punctured to death, abused, it doesn't matter. Secretly, silently taken away. Someone's cheating on me. Someone's cheating over here. I have no money in the bank. Oh, yes, this is wonderful. Woo! But they've lived through worse. Oh, well, that's not going to change what's happening to you. Lived through worse. This is the reason why humans are put into animals, into movies. Why they have humans act out animals in movies. To tell humans that they have instincts as natural as animals do. But we are doing their voices because it's not us, not animals. It's not about animals. Watch any movie, Homeward Bound, Beverly Hills Chihuahua. Bring them up to the category of what's been happening for the past 20, 30 years. And what do you get? Why did they make these movies? Well, let's see. Because you don't want to go with your instincts. Your instincts are dead inside. Compared to your own nocturnal thought of what everybody's living through worse. It's easier to say that. To look at everybody else and say they're living through worse. You think a dog does that to another dog? Oh, that dog over there is living through worse. I better be happy with what I got. No, they're still going to be howling for something better. If they're being mistreated at the home, if they're being abused. That's why they have those commercials on TV that I can't even watch without a tear coming through my eye. To be honest, that's why. It doesn't change the person you are just to say they've lived through worse. They've lived through worse. I can tell you who's lived through worse. You, because you're telling me they've lived through worse. You're living through the worst of it because you're telling me about them, not yourself. Totally denying the acceptance of talking with somebody about it. That's why people love talking about other things, other people. Not gossipy wise, just saying, well, this is their life right now, and at least I have it better than them. Oh, yes, that's a wonderful cop-out line. To not take care of anything in your own personal life. At least I have it better than them. You don't even need God anymore. All you need to say is, at least we have it better than them. But that doesn't change how you're living. And to compare it to somebody else, for me to compare my life to what's happening to an African child, or what's happening to somebody in Australia, or what's happening to somebody in China, or what's happened in the sweatshops, or what's happening with somebody over here, over there. You want me to name them all? Because they're not living the same life I am. They were, and I'm not saying that we haven't done anything bad in general, but we took our steps, and it's not us individually that did that. Corporations and banks, they wanted the money. Sweatshops were created for that instinct, because China didn't say, hey guys, come over here, we need people to be in sweatshops here, and the money go to you for what they make. China didn't say that, So, literally, we took advantage in the opportunity to do so. But yes, China can buy us out, that's no doubt. But we were stupid enough to throw our jobs overseas. We, meaning the people in charge, the corporations and banks, because they wanted more money. But once you get greedy, you can be bought out and sold like nothing. Because once that's all you want is greed, and that power, what else do you need? You're not going to get anywhere else. There's nothing else above greed or power. There's nothing above that makes you a better person. You can't go further with that. Meaning, at that point, the ceiling is locked in. There's no higherness to that. Nobody feels, there's never been in history where somebody got greedy and wanted power only, where there was something above that where they did better for everybody else. No, it got worse for everybody else because they wanted that. And it isn't just one person. There's an oligarchy in all this. There's no king. There's no king and queen. This is the establishment of it. The idea that we've created a lived through worse mentality. Rather, we've already shown what kind of persons we are. Think about, there's good examples in the world. Russia's been creating some video games from this company called Ice Pick Lodge. One of the games is called Pathologic, the first game they created. It's a real-world environment, almost like The Sims, you could say. But the difference, and I'm going to say this with true pure instinct, with Pathologic and their next game, The Void, they show a realistic image of the world. The Sims, for example, does not show a realistic image of the world. It shows how we view the world. So if you played The Sims, I mean, I like The Sims, but I personally like Russia's The Void and Pathologic a lot better because it shows a reality-based environment. There's a nocturnal presence of trust in it more than anything else. The Sims doesn't show that. That's why people make laughs and joke about people cheating in the game, and yet in real life, would they laugh and joke? No, they would put down every other man or woman. Throw it into the cave. Everybody in the balance because, wait, but the Sims don't do that. Why are you? Wait, Pathologic doesn't do that at all. Because Pathologic and The Void, both of them establish the idea of the heart. Come together and face it. The Void is a great example of that because what you have to do in the game is keep your heart alive by getting colors. Colors keep you alive. And you keep going through the mission and you keep trying to find out, try to get out of the tunnel. Out of this tunnel verse that's been created where you go through each puzzle and you get to the next section. At some point you get out of that. You're stuck inside this void until you escape it. The Sims doesn't show that. The Sims just shows the flat surface. And I'm not putting it down. I play it too. But I can see that difference. What we collide with is what we want to collide with. You know, if we just want to collide with the surface tales and say, well, that guy or that girl has good breasts, or a nice face, nice lips, nice woo lips. Or we could look at it a little better than that. You know, as we raise the pedestal, this is why humans act in dog movies. And why they talk in these movies as animals. Because we're supposed to go with our instincts. Supposed to. It doesn't necessarily mean we can. It doesn't necessarily mean we believe in them anymore. This is why the paranormal is paranormal. At some point in history, it wasn't paranormal. It was something normal everybody knew. You know, the paranormal didn't just come around when ghost hunters started. Ghosts and everything else have been established for years. So to have people now in the 21st century, or 20th century, researching and investigating it on TV, doesn't give it a more established view than it already had. It already had that established view. And it's not being taken as much seriously as it did years ago, way before that. When people actually had the initiative to want to speak about it. And not just look at it like it's an unknown. You know, and that's why a lot of people say like, oh, the unknown, we can't go towards the unknown. My battle with people is this. Go out and vote. Vote for yourself. Everybody. Well, but then who's going to go in office? How do we know what road we're going to go down? Oh no! We got these two roads that are always there. And we always have these unknown roads going off to nowhere. We can't do that. We don't know where we'll end up. Why not? You know, how can you be interested in the paranormal and something as unknown as ghosts and stuff when you're not even interested in the unknown paths in life? You got to get through those steps first and not be afraid of the unknown. Not be afraid to hear somebody out about your feelings, about their feelings. And here you are, afraid of the unknown in real life. The steps and paths you could take. You're afraid of that. And that's why most people think when a man knows what he wants, that he just wants sex. Oh, yes, of course, because a man knows what he wants. He just wants sex. There you go. Now look at me. Look how I'm sounding. Throughout this whole conversation, I'm talking about how people establish their own attitudes about things. Go with their instincts. Oh, well, my instinct tells me this guy just wants sex. Okay, well, this girl just wants sex. This girl, this guy, whatever. The sky, the air, you know, there's only one view they could have. Because they're acting the same way as somebody else did. That doesn't necessarily mean they're the same way as somebody else is. Everybody grew up differently. As why I'm acting this way is because there's no one left. In the old acoustic guitar session, this is the idea. You're telling me to be a better person, to be somebody that you want to be with. I can't be. I can only be the person that I can be with. If I could be with you, that'd be awesome. But you have to want that too. And it's not about an acceptance from everybody else. Everybody's afraid of that too. Taking that unknown road and seeing how your family or anybody else would feel if you're with somebody else that they don't approve of. Oh no! Oh my God, you're doing something different. My God, what's gonna happen? How about happiness? Duh. Clearly you don't want that. Clearly you're afraid of that. The idea of, oh no, what am I gonna do here? You're gonna enjoy it. That's what you're gonna do. You're not gonna be intimidated every single second by somebody else sucking down souls with their attitudes and their personalities. Because a lot of people do that. A lot of people like the negative thought and throwing it in your face. Oh, you're showing me something new? I'm going to throw negativity at you. Oh, I'm feeling something new here. I don't know what it is. I'm going to throw negativity out. And that's what a lot of people do. I'm going to throw positivity out, throw it in your face. Make you turn it into your own eyes and say, oh shit, what am I looking at? Myself in the mirror. But no mirror needed. You're right there. So if a person says, well, he just wants sex, well, they're gone, you know? And it's just like if somebody picks up on me. Like, let's say somebody asks me, hey, Marcello, what are you doing now in your free time? I tell them everything. Oh, this, that, the other, running, writing, whatever. And I bring up, like, something inappropriate, too. And I'm like, and they're like, oh, the only thing that stuck out to me, well, then, obviously, none of the other stuff is important to you. You know, that stuff is more important. I'm just bringing up everything. I'm not afraid to. That's it, you know? That's all I gotta say, you know, clearly. That's all I have to say, because if I can feel that presence of what they're picking out, if you're just picking out things and not paying attention to everything, because it's not like I'm throwing in 20 things. I'm throwing in a few things and saying, this is the stuff that I do in my free time. But if you're trying to establish what it all is and say, oh, no, it's only centered on that. Oh, bye. Because read my writing before you start judging it and saying, oh, no, it must be about sex, too. Oh, yes, of course, because everything remarkably has to have that attitude. And so, you know, I already said I'm not looking to be a parent. But most people want a child so they can have and mold them into whatever, whenever and whatever they please. What can I do for you? Oh, why don't you think of me? I would rather ask, why don't I think of you? You know? I'm not thinking of, when I think of the person that I like, or somebody that I have feelings for, something that I had feelings for even, I never think of, what can they be to me? No. I think of what can they be for themselves. With me. That's all. I never would think, hey, this is about what I want, my vision of you. No, this is my vision of me, and this is my vision of me with you. Let's see how big it could get. Let's see how long this could last. Without a phase, without an old age, everything lasts in their own ideas. I'm a freaking gelatin bomb. You have me in your life. But if you establish the wrong conditions and try to label it, how can I label you? When can I label you, huh? 'Cause I won't. You already know that. Crystalline images don't come by freaking throwing a rock at somebody and saying, you're wrong, Marcello. Oh, God, that hurt my head. If I'm wrong, then you can't say you've been right. You can't say that I'm wrong. You can't say that I thought I was wrong. You can say that you thought I was wrong. And that's it. That's all you can say. But if your action created this reaction, how can you say I was the only one wrong here? You want to ignore that. It's like me. I can't take on somebody else's, what they did. You know, there's no way, especially something I would never do to somebody. If somebody did something to me that I would never and have never done to somebody, then how can I take the repercussions of it? Like, that's why I said a while ago on this Pink Cloud Radio about people taking the responsibility for what they do. There's actually a strong reason for that. It's not because I'm trying to get you to understand something. No, it's because a lot of times repercussions can't come to a person who's never done that before. They wouldn't understand it. It's like me sometimes with certain friends or certain people in my past. Guess what? There's no way I could take on those repercussions because I would never do that. Either I would leave it alone completely. As such, I thought the condition was with certain friends, but they actually kept contacting, which I didn't understand at all. Because they made their action known, you know, pretty clearly too. So I mean, literally, they made that action known, so they can't look at me and say, well, Marcello should know better. You know, well, if I should know better, then you already do. You don't need me to know better. You just need to move on. You can't tell me to know better. This is who I am. I can't know any better than how I feel. And if my feelings are that strong, that means you have to move on. It's not time for me to move on. It's time for me to move on and find that strong connection that I want. Like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. You know, this is my mentality. When I find the right girl, she won't say, oh, he's too much lovable, he has too much love, or he has too little love. No. Marcello's love is just right for me. Boom. And there we go. Center on. Make it. That's the idea. Nobody can discard you if they really love you. But another thing is, just like intimidation, if somebody uses intimidation on you, if you are established in that kind of relationship and you enjoy that, totally understandable. But if you're not an intimidation person, and I mean that in vocal terms, verbally, if your personality is intimidating, that's different. You can't start intimidating somebody just because of that. That doesn't make any sense. I'm going to start intimidating this person because he's intimidating to me. Well, you're using revenge and you're being sly about it. You're saying, I can't even deal with him directly. I can't even deal with her directly, so I'm going to do this. Nope, I haven't done that. I've done things based on my heart. And I said, whoa, this is a bad idea. Whoa, you know. And my guts too. Our gut feelings speak for themselves, as with instincts. That's why in these movies, Homeward Bound, Beverly Hills Chihuahua, we have these attitudes. And they're all done in a freaking flick of a second. And yet people tell me, oh, Marcello, you're doing something wrong here. I'm the only one doing something wrong here? Well, let's see. Who else is here? If I'm doing something wrong, good. Because I'm good and bad. I'm evil and everything. I'm not just one set of rules. You know, as so many people base the things on the rules and regulations and laws set around us. But the concepts around us weren't built by us. Just like a computer. There's no computer that's built like Marcello. There's no computer built like anybody that I've loved in my past. So I can't understand Control-Alt-Delete. Oh, I have to restart here. Oh. And that's the whole point. If you center on the fact that, oh, well, this has to be restarted, you remember. You got to restart with good vibes, not with something that's built on your own precipice of what you think about yourself and me. Because that means that you don't want to deal with your own repercussions. I have to. And I can't deal with everybody's repercussions if I've never done the same thing. Especially if I never would do that. I'm going to deal with you directly, right to your face. No text message, we talk. You don't want to talk? Oh, well then, you know, that kind of means you don't want to talk. And unless you completely change your mind on that point, you have to open up on that point and say, oh, I want to hear you. Everything. Call the line. You know, as I said, you know, what can I do for you? You know, as with the idea of being a child or a parent about things, because a lot of people get into relationships based on that, because they want protection or escape. A lot of people get that from being a child, or get that from having a parent. So why wouldn't you? You know, I live with my, like let's say, I live with my parents right now. I'm not looking for another mom. That's stupid. I'm looking for somebody who accepts the love at the level that I have it at. My emotions, feelings, sensitivities in one direction, but that's different. I'm not telling them to be like my mom. And I'm not telling somebody, you know, I need to find somebody who cooks. I don't care. I could care less. I can eat a peanut butter and jelly every morning. PB&J every morning. I don't care. If what you have to do is condition yourself to believe what the nurses and nursery rhymes have taught you, fuck those nursery rhymes. Thank you very much. I don't need a nursery rhyme. I need your love. A nursery rhyme is not going to convex the heart that I have. It's not going to change how I feel about you. It's not going to make me say, you know what? I actually do want somebody who cooks. No, I want you. You know? And this is the idea. Like, just listen to a nursery rhyme. Just listen to that swift, beautiful language and sway in a song. No, I'm building my own song for you. But I'm not telling you that like a wall or something. I'm just telling you, you can't change my view based off a nursery rhyme. Or something that you've heard so many times before. Oh, don't worry, you'll find somebody. You're a nice guy. Yes, but you do understand that if so many girls say that, that actually means those girls don't want to be with me. The line has been drawn, and your ideas of suffocating have suffocated yourself. Boom. Condition done. I'm not putting any women down by that. I'm actually saying men are the same way. And the atmosphere of what I've learned about most men too is that, they just want to control somebody. Most of them do. No denial there. I have no effect. Because I'm not a controlling person. So I have no effect. My only effect is my love in your direction. Let's see how long that lasts. For you. Not for me. Mine can go on for miles. But you gotta be like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. You have to pick that one and say, that's just right for me. If you don't, then you're gonna keep on looking. And you're gonna look for those three bears every single day of your life. I don't need to. I be myself and that's all I can be. You know? Don't worry, I'll be tapping that. But I'll be tapping that with only one. If you're going to establish that I'm a person who's a swinger, or wants everybody, or like a bull toro or something that tries to get all the ladies and has a lot of ladies, I'm not. Throw that into the spinal fish. This is nothing in between me and you. Unless you want it to be in between me and you. And I'm you. You know? Why don't you think of me? A lot of people say. And I would rather say, why don't I think of you? Because that's the truth. You know? Why don't you think of me, Marcello? Why don't? I'd rather ask that for myself. You know, a lot of people try to ask that question, and they, you know, it's so funny. People ask that question, why don't you think of me? As if they already know that they're just telling you that you don't think of them. My God, you want to know how much I'm thinking of somebody? It doesn't end because the conversation does. And here you are throwing it in my face like, you know I'm not thinking of you. You don't even know. Your ideas and energy doesn't want to base it off me. You don't want to think of me. So you have to ask me, why don't you think of me? I'd say, why don't you think of me? That's all I can say, because literally, you're not thinking of me. And here I am, thrown to the ground. No kneeling. I want to be with you without kneeling. Without you kneeling, without me kneeling. We're not going to kneel to each other. Only for sexual pleasure, of course. But the clear eyes can see it. I'm here. I'm not going away. But it's not because, oh, well, he's not going away, oh no. No, I'm going away in that way. That's gone. Because there's only one way I'm going to stay, is with you. And I've established my friendships. I've tried to establish them as strongly as I could, but the other person did not want to, of course. They were afraid. Oh no, a long-lasting friendship, I can't do that. Oh no, a long-lasting relationship? Oh no, I can't do that. I can. None of those walls are built up for me. I'm not afraid. We don't fly like that. A lot of people say, we don't fly like that. We don't fly like that. You know, the easiest cop-out. So many people say that. We don't fly like that. So that to be brought up, not to believe in, like, corruption or inside jobs. It's not an inside job if everyone can see it's not. You know, I mean, literally, if inside jobs, and so-called terms as we call them, because these are terms that are words here. Inside jobs have happened before and historically. So to understand the scapegoat of saying that we don't fly like that is to say that you're speaking for everybody else like you know them. You know, like you know your president, like you know your officials, like you know your Congress, like you know all the secret services, like you know the FBI, like you know them personally. Like they tell you everything or something, which they don't. Clearly they have so many secret files, even secret files about stuff that's not happening on a right this moment basis. You know? As such, with what happened recently. JFK Jr. finding out that he was killed. Oh, Jesus Christ, remember that? But it's being closed until 2025, so that nobody will be put in jail. Oh, of course, you know, no, we don't want any of that stuff there. Let's keep it under wraps. But that's okay, you know? I mean, of course, we hate it over there in the Middle East where they're killing people right in their faces and showing them they don't have freedom. They don't keep it in secret like we do. Changing the Constitution, putting in the NDAA, you know, putting up the Patriot Act and getting rid of our rights. Of course, we love that. It's a secret. So it's lovely. Being shot in the face, oh no, that wouldn't be so lovely. We got to keep it clean. Even though we didn't start clean as a nation, of course, we have to at least end clean. But we won't end clean because we try to end so clean we're going to be bloody and dead. And that's the idea. We don't fly like that. Oh, show me. We don't. Who are you speaking for? I'd love to see this who you're speaking for term. Now, if you're personally saying, I don't fly like that, I'm not a corrupt person, I don't like speaking of lies, totally understandable. I believe you. But if you're speaking for everybody else, there's a term of endearment to that. Now, a lot of people say the opposite, like, how can you know what our government does if they're lying to us? Well, let's see. They've been proven they actually have been proven many times to have lied to us. So to say they stopped lying because we noticed that other lie, we didn't do anything when those lies came out, actually. A lot of times we just accepted it. So I'm pretty upset with everybody else who didn't do anything when they found out that they were lied to by our government. And then they just defend them and say, we don't fly like that. But we did. So many times there's a lot of corruption that was put out to the public. And you still believe them? Just because they're different people? A power grab doesn't just go away. Those power grabs were done instantaneously and they gave more power to them. So what can be above that? You can't go above wanting power and greed to get something better out of it. You can't. Those stuff may have, businesses may have failed and closed down, Enron and so forth, but that doesn't take away what they did. And I'm not talking about these individual companies, I'm talking in general. You don't take away corruption like that by saying, well, I'll accept it now because we found out the truth now. Well, but it's kind of too late for the truth unless you want to change the kind of people that are in there. Well, you can't change people wanting power. And that's not true, actually. If you don't want power, you can actually change that. But if you want that kind of power, you're actually isolating yourself and saying, we don't fly like that. But then why do you want somebody who wants power only in the office or in something like that, in those kind of positions? Well, I would want power. Oh, then you actually do fly like that, actually. Technically, you do. You fly like that more than they do, actually. You're telling me you don't. So, I don't even know what to say about that one. Yikes. Basically about the nature of what an individual is and how your own actions reflect country. But all you do is work at Disney or McDonald's. You don't own and operate them. So you're telling me we don't fly like that when you don't even own and operate a business that's huge and established in this country and buys up copyrights like Disney does and gets an extension in copyrights like Disney does. I'm not putting them down with that, but I'm telling you something right there. You don't have that kind of power, so to launchpad yourself and say we don't fly like that, who are you talking about? If you're talking about all those businesses, you tell me how they don't fly like that. I'd like to know. Because I'd like to know how much you actually know about them. And this is just like what one person argued with me about and saying that, the anti-vaccination movement started with the guy who was going to take the money away. But that doesn't change anything about the anti-vaccination movement. That only changes my view about that personal guy. He probably was in a position, and I'm not going to doubt this. He wanted the money, no doubt. But that doesn't change what anti-vaccination stands for. That may change my view of that personal person, but that's his choice. He made that choice to go for a power grab and to take the money and to be greedy about it. That's his choice. If he didn't want to help people, that's his choice. But that doesn't change my voice about what vaccinations can do and have done over the years. Especially over the years what has been found through vaccinations too. Through what has happened through vaccinations. Which a lot of people, we gotta just accept the terms of what we have here with this healthcare system and everything. Well, if we do, then why are we trying to change the healthcare system? Why are we forcing everybody onto healthcare systems? Because basically that says right there, if you're poor, if you're homeless, you gotta die. That's what it basically says. You gotta die. Wow, wonderful. Hey, this is the America I grew up in right here. Woo! The concepts of my country so strung in. I love it. Being sarcastic, of course, because the concepts of my country were not developed with me. They were developed with corporations and banks that bottom up. And that's what happens with each election, too. Most of the people who do their campaigns, two of the people that do their campaigns, I should say, two. Sorry, the rest don't get any corporate bank backing. But the two big ones do, of course. Here you go, here's some money for your campaign. The rest, do your own thing. We were not going to help you. So, in general terms, I really would think, personally, that you gotta get rid of those things, the scapegoats. You know, the idea of, like, intrinsically trying to defend the idea of what we have as a thought of process. This is how we get the established view. Republicans, Democrats, what to do. They're paid for by banks and you. But to be honest, that shouldn't be true. It should only be paid by donations and by their own pocket. That's it. You know? By their own pockets. Not getting into any donations from anybody else like that. Their own pockets and donations in general. I give it a general term of success that this is the identity of most people. That, well, they have friends in high places. That's the attitude a lot of people take too. Like, they have friends in high places, so it's easy for them to get that money. A lot of people have friends in high places. It doesn't mean they get money from them. There's a lot more to money than just friends in high places. And that's where a lot of the things go, well, that's why you can give donations, because, you know, well, it's not donations if it's friends in high places. It's not really donations, it's, I like your view, here you go. Throw it at them. And it is that nature, you know, we don't fly like that. Yeah, we don't fly like that. Well, we don't? But we've been flying like that for years. We've been flying like that for years. Ever since I was 7 years old, I've been seeing that. Bullying, revenge, greed, power. I mean, we've been flying like that for years. You're telling me we don't fly like that? I mean, where have you been living, you know? Just saying, you know? And this goes back to the established condition of what you are, a process of life. But if you are a process of life, what are you afraid of to experience something unknown? This is what I'm talking about when I say go out and vote for yourself. Represent yourself. Throw it in the can. Call it what you like. This is Marcello's living life. But this is your living life too. This isn't your living life as, I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat, I'm an independent, I'm this and that. Your name, please. Your name, please. And all this based on your idea of what you saw. What you surface saw. What did you feel, though? Did you actually feel what you completely wanted to feel? Or did you just say, well, no, but I heard what they had to say about it? That's all? You just heard what they had to say about it? You didn't feel what you really felt about it? Whew. Damn! That's not instincts. As with the movies Homeward Bound, Beverly Hills Chihuahua, I can bring them all up. Still, you have to experience those instincts all the way, the guts all the way. And you love them. And they may not love you. They may not love the attention that you're getting from somebody else. They may tell you, get away from that. But that's the whole point of instincts. It's not always about who you're with. It's about what you see in it and what you feel from it. The experience will only be guided throughout the signal of what you want. And this is what I want. One thing. You already established what the conditions were. Pink Cloud Radio didn't. And I wouldn't want to. This is a stamp of requirement. This is a stamp of requirement. That's the whole point of me. You know, that's the whole point of me. There's no subtlety. There's no subtle. Because you would not start. You would not start being subtle if you never understood them. I can't say that even if I had a girl, it would not be because I understood subtlety. You know, if a girl asks me, you know, let's say I have a girlfriend, you know, and she asks me, Marcello, are you with me because you understood my subtleties? My subtle advances? Not at all. I was lucky. Not at all. I was lucky to get with you. That's it. The subtlety, understanding it, oh my God. If there's like patches of grass in a park, and different patches, you know, there's a sidewalk, you know, interrupting them as always, and there's one patch of grass that says, do not walk on grass. I'd walk on the other grass that doesn't have that sign. Meaning that you have to be that direct with me. You know, don't be afraid to be direct. There's nothing to lose. You know, yes, you can have your text messages, you could have your voicemail, you could have your calling on the phone, you could have your messaging on Facebook, your messaging online, but you can't run away from my face. That shows you really are afraid to even face the kind of confrontational love that I love. This is what I love. It's not afraid. It's willing. The effort to become effervescent and see you every day. Not because I'm prying and trying to get with you every day. No. You have your space. But my space is built in you. I'm sorry if that's true. It doesn't mean I have to be with you every day. It means that you have to sacrifice nothing. Only what you feel. And you honestly have to face it directly, talking with me. No ideas of surface battles or some of the bullshit like that. There's no surface here. Everybody has energy, and it's not energy specifically about paranormal. Everybody has energy in general. And you focus towards that energy naturally as you want it. Natural instincts will give you that. Now, if you focus on that, but they don't, or if somebody else focuses on it and you don't, yes, there's a loss. As I'm going to be a loss. Because most people would say, oh, he hasn't been married, he doesn't have any kids. Fuck him. He's not a nice guy. He's not a good guy. He doesn't have that established mentality. He can't have that because he hasn't been married or hasn't had kids yet. So he can't understand anything. I can tell you what I understand. My emotions, feelings, sensitivity is right toward you. But you don't want to hear them. All you want to hear me say is, let's have kids. Oh, let's get married. How about this? I love you. That's not enough? You want to hear, well, let's have kids, let's get married? All that stuff will come if you don't blink when I say I love you. And you see it right in your face. Not afraid, not unable, not caged up. This is it. No fucks. No fuck yous, no sex. This is love. This is mind sex built between the aspect of our eyes staring at each other. This is it. This is what I mean by the stamp of requirement. Not somebody for a phase, somebody to old age. Marcello is the stamp of requirement. So when you ask me, this is the condition of life we live in. No, it's not. This is the condition of life you want to live in. This is what you want. This isn't about me wanting to be with you and you have to fight for me, Marcello. You have to fight for me. Right? You have to fight on your own. This isn't about just fighting physically, outside with everybody else, or mentally, within the aspect of people throwing intimidation at you. This is you not being afraid to experience something unknown. Because love to a lot of people is very unknown. That's why so many people get into a relationship based on escape and protection. I can be based in a relationship based on the love that I have right directed at you. I'm gonna dim your lights with that. Punch some guy out right now. Meeting each other needs, like Kerry Shook said about, oh, fuck Kerry Shook. That's all I gotta say. Pastor Kerry Shook, fuck him. That's all I gotta say about this. He said, dump them if you're dating, because dating is just a phase to him. His condition of thinking is dating is a phase. Well, fuck you if you think dating is a phase. Dump them if they have any faults. But don't dump them if they have any faults if you're married. Oh, okay, so you have to accept their faults if you're married. If you're not married, fuck all them. Well, fuck you, Kerry Shook. Have a good life, Pastor Kerry Shook. You're an asshole. Because I condition it like this. Any faults you have, you built in life. You can't push down somebody else and say they're wrong. Get out of my life because of the faults that they have. They experience things in life. Whether God likes it or not, they did. You can't take that away. He put us in these positions, so He should expect all of us to be reasonable with each other. To understand that the experiences we have in life should not bring us into just saying, oh, that's a fault of yours. That's a flaw of yours. Here's a flaw of mine. I actually don't care about your flaws or faults. But can you see between the eyes that I don't need to recognize that? I recognize your faults. Doesn't mean I'm going to push you down and tell you, get out of my life because I'm dating you only and this is just a phase. No, there's no phase. This is something I'm going to be with to old age. I'm even going to have my own established truth. So if I start doing that now, why would I stop when I get married? If I started pushing everybody out when they had faults, why would that stop if I got married? It wouldn't. It wouldn't stop. If you can accept people's faults when you're dating, how do you expect to accept people's faults when you're married? This is the established view. Your condition is wrong. Pastor Kerry Shook, fuck you. Have a good life with your life. This is about you, Kerry Shook. This is about you saying, let God change them if you're married. Sounds like you don't marry someone you date. Then I don't have any reason to date. I don't have any reason to establish a condition with people at all. We're humans. We conditionally have aspects to understand and be with each other. Even as friends. Even as relationships. Even as marriage. Even as dating. So if you tell me, well, don't accept people's faults. well, fuck you. Then you're going to see my faults right away. And you're not going to want to be with me. This is Marcello. Your aspect of life, destroyed. This is the attitude I present. Because I'm not afraid to accept your faults. I'm not even afraid to admit them. But I will tell you, I'm afraid to push you down because of them. But that doesn't mean I won't tell you about them, we won't talk about them. This is Marcello, the condition of life to say, fuck Carrie Shook, I'm gonna dim your lights. You made me do a kind of attitude. You made me do it. You know, when people say they made to speak somebody higher than you, you know, they love doing that. You know, like when somebody goes to speak to someone higher than you in a position of power, and then saying, oh, you misunderstood me. Oh, but I didn't misunderstand your complaint to higher ups, did I? When you went to the boss and told him, I didn't understand the complaint you had. I didn't misunderstand that. You complained to them. If I misunderstood something, come speak to me. In the indirect mood, this is what people do now. Instead of dealing with somebody directly, again, in positions of work, I'm going to go speak to my boss. Oh, wait, you misunderstood what I just did. I didn't misunderstand the complaint you made to the boss there, did I? If I have misunderstood something, come speak to me. Yet you're supposed to speak to me if I misunderstand. Instead, you went to my boss. And what you said right now is, I misunderstood. So why are you telling the boss that I misunderstood? Why are you telling me I misunderstood? You know, now it's too late. You made your complaint to the boss. So this is the condition of life. In all this whole thing, you've lived through worse. You've lived through worse, right? They've lived through worse. They've lived through worse. At least you have it better than them, right? Easiest cop-out. Cop-outs all day. You know? And the animals in films, voiced by humans. Remember your instincts. You know, I'm not looking to be a parent or a child. I'm looking to be with you. Yes, I'd like to be a kid about it. But you have to want to be that kid too. With feelings, emotions, sensitivities. Because I'll tell you one thing. One thing a child really is somebody who's not afraid about their feelings, emotions, and sensitivities in one direction. One direction. Don't be afraid. You're going to establish that? You establish that till old age. Because anybody who's old and young, they always have that idea. I can say anything I want. I can too. We don't fly like that. We do fly like that. That's the problem. And then we say we don't. And this is the stamp of requirement in everything. The stamp of requirement in love and everything that I am. You remember that. You know, I'm going to dim your lights, Pastor Carrie Shook. Fuck you for saying that. Sorry, Carrie. You don't have any attitude of what somebody who truly cares about people can say. I'm glad I don't pay attention to you. Because when I heard that, I was like, oh, fuck you very much. This is not what I want to hear. And this is not the truth, actually. It's your truth. But like I said, if you're going to create that as a phase, how do you know it's going to not be a phase? How do you know you're not going to treat somebody in a marriage like that too? I'd like to know how you can differentiate. Because if you can't differentiate another person that you meet that has flaws and faults, how can you establish somebody even closer than that and accept theirs? They're not blood. As with most people, they always say, well, they're blood. I don't need somebody who's blood to accept them for their faults and everything. But I need you to accept mine. And that's it. So fuck you, Carrie Shook, for your great words and amplitude of voice. This is for you. So you made it a kind of attitude to say, oh, you misunderstood me, but I didn't misunderstand the complaint you made to the boss. Remember that. I didn't misunderstand that. Everybody just wants to dump on you. So I dump on you right now. Everything. Marcello may not have every answer. Pink Cloud Radio may not have every answer, but I'm not trying to give you every answer. This is a stomp towards mentality. A stomp towards heart and reality. A stomp towards the heart and mind coming together and realizing its dispatch. Your origin is just created. But I don't need to tell you about it. You need to experience it. And not be afraid to. I love you. And so, that's the end now. Created, defeated. This is Pink Cloud Radio for this week. Entreat it and enjoy it.